Movement Psychotherapist. I know, right? Very fancy sounding title, sounds complicated, but it isn't. I basically integrate different movement-related theories and techniques psychotherapeutically to help people move through and heal from their struggles related to their mental health and physical wellness. I'm sure there are many here who relate to the idea of dance as therapeutic. That workout that feels like an adrenaline rush, that dance class that just makes you feel happier, or even a yoga class that always hits the spot when we feel the tension of stress. And yes, all that is true and wonderful, and something I highly encourage with all my clients, no matter how old they are, to find that thing that inspires them to move and feel better in their body. But dance movement therapy, or DMT, goes deeper than that. Dance movement therapy is a form of body-based psychotherapy that uses movement as the primary medium to improve mental, physical, cognitive, and emotional well-being. By helping us connect with our bodies, DMT gives us access to those deep, old wounds of trauma that get stuck in the body and create ongoing suffering. DMT gives me the tools I need to help people heal through the rhythms of their own bodies that all the talk in the world cannot fix. It gives me the techniques to mirror back pain and dysregulation in the other so they may open up and breathe deeply into those places inside that need to be restored. And no, we do not all have to be trained dancers to benefit from this work. Movement is the oldest language we have, right from the womb, where we dance and stretch and communicate with our mothers. Through the years, I have used dance movement therapy in expressive arts groups with women, with people struggling with addiction, heart disease, obesity, cancer. I have helped people heal old traumas of sexual violence and eating disorders by helping them connect with forgotten or never developed rhythms in their own body. I worked with preschoolers on the spectrum and helped them find joy and connection, and helped a child with a genetic muscular condition walk beyond her crutches and join the rest of her peers in a mainstream class. I worked with people in their 80s and 90s to find strength and meaning through their memories of dance, especially in their youth, that moved them beyond their identity as a Holocaust survivor or someone challenged by dementia. I even worked with young girls in juvenile detention to find some way through their fears and incarceration by helping them to reconnect with their moving bodies and therefore with their feeling selves. My work was constantly evolving, deeply fulfilling, and I myself danced and taught dance up to 5 times a week with women in wheelchairs and nurses finding more balance from their unhealthy lives of caretaking others. Dance was not only the forum through which I could help others in my work, but it was my own deep healing medicine. Dance with others gave me a sense of release, of healing, of connection, community, and resonance with a deeper meaning for my life. And all that came to a grinding halt in March 2020 when we went into lockdown. All of us remember the confusion, the intense fear, the panic of those few weeks, those first few weeks. The isolation, the loss, despair, anxiety, depression, violence, the job loss, uncertainty, so much fear. The toilet paper. Our mental health took a severe toll globally and unfortunately continues even now into the present day. I felt lost and untethered, locked inside my own fear and grief. So I did the one thing I knew I could do, that I needed to do. I moved. And since I couldn't dance with others, I walked. I walked, and I walked, and I walked. I walked for hours. At first, I listened to music and podcasts to distract myself as I walked, but soon I realized I didn't want to distract myself because I began noticing the blue sky, the wispy clouds, and I found myself being drawn to the light and the breeze. I walked with the trees, I cried in the rain, I listened to the birds, felt held by the falling cherry blossoms that reminded me of snow. Everything felt quieter, and so I could hear more, and I listened, and it calmed me. I started to feel a sense of hope and connection again, and I was reminded that when I first moved to the Bay Area almost 10 years ago, lonely and scared, it was the magnificent ocean that gave me solace and a sense of grand perspective. It was the sand beneath my feet that helped me feel I was still on solid ground. It was where I return to even now when I need to figure things out and remember to breathe. And I remembered the magical iridescent hummingbird. It was the first day of elementary school for my little boys, only 5 and 8 at the time, and we were all trepidatious. We had just moved from our deep-rooted community in Tucson, terribly sad and nervous to start a new school in a new state, in the middle of the school year. I worried that my children would have a hard time fitting in mid-year when kids had already found their friend groups, and a million other things that a protective mother worries about. I was trying my hardest to sound excited and assuring as we waited at the traffic light to turn left into the neighborhood, fingers nervously tapping on my steering wheel, my tummy in knots. And suddenly, out of nowhere, this gorgeous, tiny, shining hummingbird came buzzing right to my open window and stared right at me, her head jerking side to side as she took me in. I was in shock, and I stopped breathing. I whispered to my kids whether they saw what I saw, or was I making this up? And they did. And we were all mesmerized. There were no trees or bushes close to this main road, no reason this beautiful being would have any reason to find her way to my car, to my window, and hover while staring me down. And I felt a beam of light shine right up from my core and through my whole body. And this deep joy showed up in my smile. After what felt like a while, what was probably just less than a minute, she flew away. My boys and I laughed and excitedly talked about that magical moment and forgot all about our fear. And I knew without a doubt that it would all be okay. We were all going to be fine. Because hummingbirds symbolize many things, but to me, they are a symbol of good luck and are fierce fighters and defenders of their territory. And I knew, without a doubt, that my fierce love would be there for my kids. And I was right. By the end of their first week, they both had new best friends, and just as nature had come to my rescue then, it came to my rescue now in this post-pandemic world. I started to explore the natural world more intentionally, spending more time meditating outdoors, getting to know the beings that lived around the hills in my neighborhood, going out for evening moonwalks and celebrating the full moon. I was honored by glimpses of the coyotes that roamed the land and the owls that flew through the night. And the seasons changed. As they changed, I came to appreciate the stunning beauty of the yellow mustard flowers that blanketed the hills, the grass that went from luminous green to brown, the smell of the air before and after the rains, the delicious feel of fog on my early morning walks. I came to love the chill in the air that became more crisp and tasted more fresh as we moved into winter, and the softness of the breeze that floated through the tree branches, sounding like the ocean as spring showed through. I drove to visit with the redwoods and found secret labyrinths in the forests. And in February of this year, I traveled to the deep winter of the north, to subarctic Canada, and danced with the aurora borealis, the northern lights, and I was transformed. I was dancing again, and I had found my new dance partner in the natural world. And as is always the case with me, once I figure out something so potent that helped me, I wanted to figure out how to bring it to others. And so I started to study ecotherapy, doing the work to learn the theories, learn the tools and techniques, once again, to bring the joy and incredible healing power of eco-psychology to my ever-evolving therapy practice. There are so many ways that a person's health and well-being are impacted by different elements of and exposure to the natural world, from reducing stress, increasing focus, improving mood, and the ability to recover from physical or mental fatigue. Spending less time in nature now than in years past, for children in particular, show negative impacts on their overall wellness, as seen by increased rates in things like depression, obesity, ADHD, and myopia. Many of the first studies examining nature's impact on health were conducted in hospitals and were invested in how nature can affect one's health through visual engagement. Patients recovering from stomach wounds were placed either in hospital rooms with beds facing windows or beds facing a brick wall. And those who were able to rest in a room with a view showed significantly faster rates of recovery and improved mood. Sunlight's impact on immune response has made it an asset in the process of recovery as well, and is more regularly being factored into hospital architecture and design, with more focus being put into window design and positioning of windows to maximize daylight and view. In recent years, Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, maybe some of you have heard of this, has also become a popular informal therapeutic intervention in the US. Originally from Japan, it is a practice that invites people to engage in the submergence of the senses. In Japan, it has become an increasingly important aspect of preventative health care. And this practice is believed to reduce stress, prevent the likelihood of things like high blood pressure, anxiety, and weakened immune health. I could go on and on and on because the benefits are numerous. So, I have begun to meet with my clients outdoors to walk and talk together with the natural world as my co-therapist. I lead groups on mindfulness walks and offer day-long retreats outdoors that have resulted in deep transformation and connection with the self and with others. By bringing together therapies of talk, dance and movement, and the natural world, I feel I'm only beginning to scratch the surface of the kind of deep healing that is really possible. We all deserve this kind of restorative medicine, of calm and transformative potential. By incorporating movement and connection with the natural world into your life in an intentional way, through simple everyday things like walking outside mindfully, joining a dance class, taking a moment to be quiet and listen to the birds, working in your garden, or starting a meditation practice, or even slowing down enough to remember to take a deep breath. We can all experience an enhanced sense of well-being. These are things we can all easily and freely access that don't involve prescription medication or often prohibitive costs of seeking medical help. By making a commitment to doing one thing every day, however small, to connect with your body and the more than human world, one tiny step at a time, you have the power to transform your life. And just imagine that each of us took this individual understanding and applied it to our families, to our communities, to our workplaces, to our towns, and even to the wider institutional structures that govern the ways we organize our lives. Might we then have the capability to build a more sustainable world, a more harmonious and balanced, healthier planet? Because, in the words of the remarkable Joanna Macy, the future is not out there in front of us, but inside of us. Thank you.